Yes, sir. Let's go.
Let it just hit you up. Tell me when it says recording on your side. We're good? So, what's happening, people? Welcome to the next episode of Let's Talk. And today, Mr. Chiwaz and myself, Jerome Arab, we're going to be talking about fatherhood and parenting. So,
Yes.
we're both new dads, and by new I mean we've got toddlers now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but so we're just gonna give you a sense of what parenting means to us, like especially fatherhood. I think in and we also quite an exception. If you tuned into our last episode, we spoke about being the man who has to stay at home and cook and stuff. So as we go in, firstly and foremost, I'm gonna ask you straight away, bro, off the jump. What does it mean to be a father to you?
I want to start with a corny answer. Bro, it means the world to me. It means the world to me in the sense that I've always, look, I'm first and foremost, I'm a Christian dude, so I'm a believer. So growing up, I've always wanted to be a dad, but
Yeah,
I've also realized like so, it's not for everybody. Some people choose to not be parents, and some people don't choose to not be parents. It's just hard for them to have kids, right? And I've always wanted to, and God did bless us with a beautiful girl. And so for me, just being a parent, like it's a blessing, bro. It's an honor to be able to, I don't know, to take care of another human being. I feel like being entrusted to take care of another human being. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's an honor and yet scary at the same time because wife and I sometimes we look at each other like, did we parent all right today? Like, you know what I'm saying? you know. But all in all, bro, it's been an honor. Like, love it, and I'm loving it to bits, man.
yeah. There's a few myths around parenting, and it's something that I found within my partner. Like it's like you're expected, you think you are expected to know all the answers.
Right.
You know what I mean? As
Yes,
as
sir.
a parent, it's like when you're asked a question, you're like, ah, I must answer. And sometimes, like if you don't have the answer, just showing your kid, it's okay not to know everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
it's okay. Like we can discover it out like together.
Take each day as it comes. Like the other thing about parenthood is you get a lot of advice. Yeah, a lot. And I'm gonna speak for myself, and I know we're just talking here, but I'll speak for myself and for wifey.
Yeah.
When when we just had our daughter,
Oh,
the
oh,
the yeah, so people were coming through and saying, I remember this one time, bro, I almost lost it. One of her aunts came through, right? And said, and I know they were saying this from a place of love,
yeah.
but I also knew that, wifey doesn't need to hear certain things about parenting in a way almost to make her feel like,
You don't know what
oh,
you're doing.
yes, right? And that was a big deal for me because at that point on, she struggled a lot because she was now questioning herself as in, am I parenting well? Am I going to be a good mom? And all these things. And I was like, man, come on. And what works for other people, bro, would never work for us, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just how we get that ball rolling and how we build that parenting foundation. So yeah,
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 also coming from the perspective, because I know like we talk from this partnership a lot, but I think
mm,
like I'm gonna try and speak from a singular like perspective as well, because I
yeah,
don't like I know there's a lot of people that will probably tune in that are single parents, and
yes, yes.
it's like in general, it's like as I said, like it's a crazy thing. Like you'll never ever, especially if you have a kid, you know what I'm talking about. You never ever do anything to harm your kid. A lot of the decisions you're making are not to harm the child. They're to
Yes.
actually make sure that the child is safe and is moving forward in life.
Mm,
So as long as you entrust, like you trust that thing, and you go with your core, you will get it wrong sometimes, and it's okay. It's okay, because as long as you're trying your best and you're using whatever you have, like the knowledge you have at that current point in your life. As I say, it's impossible to know everything, and I'm learning that as well. Like, my son will ask me things, and my son will say things. He's 3, bear in mind, and he's like, the one day he came and he was like, "Oh, Dad, let's go find a chrysalis." I was like, what's a chrysalis? And then he was like, "A cocoon." I was like, "Ra, the fact that you could explain it to me, what you were talking about, fam." I was like, "Ra, props to you, G. You just taught me a new word for cocoon."
Like, where is he getting this, right? Like, they listen, they very much aware. At that age, very sharp, bro.
King. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when we talk about parenting, I feel like I'm going to also try and touch base on the type of parenting I think we were also brought up with. I don't know, like, I'll say we because I assume it's the same, because we're from the same kind of place, where it's kind of like, when an elder talks, you listen. There's no questions asked. I think that is such a wrong way to raise children in general. Because children ask questions. It's how you learn. Even you as an adult, you ask questions, and you become you become less likely to ask questions when you're not allowed to question. So it's kind of like counteractive, like, so I feel like when we talk about like parenting in general, I'm like, you have to understand that when your child asks you a question, you not knowing the answer, and you basically responding and saying, "I don't know the answer, but we can try and find it." That's a good place to come from a lot of the time. I feel like there's always the harder points as well, like where you're stressed, you're tired, there's account problems and stuff, and then you have a whiny child sometimes, and you're like, ugh. But it's like, you have to look at those moments and also remember that when you're hungry, what are you like? When you're tired, what are you like? Because that's kids are just human beings, man.
100%. They've taught, like, my daughter's taught me to be patient and to be very understanding.
Yeah.
Like, even with grown ups, I've learned to through her. You get what I'm saying? Like, because, man, there's a level of so sometimes I actually think, like, oh wow, this is why my partner is so chill, because she's learned to just kind of let me do my, say what I need to say, and be all over the place. And then she's like, okay, I'm gonna, chill a bit, and then we're gonna talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm now realizing that the roles now, me being a stay-home dad, where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna relax, and
and then we can talk about it.
then we can talk about it. You know what I mean? Bro, like, it's insane, bro. Like, it's insane. It's insane. Like, as you said, like, kids will ask questions. I don't know if I'm gonna get this right, but they said that the average questions that a child asks in a day, drum roll please, amen, 4,000. Amen, 4,000. Amen. Like, it's a huge number, 400 or 4,000. Shamari, like, I'm like, what? But I can understand, because my daughter, the moment I get into her room in the morning, her first question always, is mommy still home? Her first question every morning, right? Then from there, I'm like, oh no, mommy's gone to work. Oh, she'll be back, right? That's number 2. Before we even leave, before I even grab her from her crib, I think I'm on question number 30, bro.
So, my son's similar, but my son he wakes up and then he's like, can I watch? And then it's like, it's a bit early. Okay. Can I play and then we watch? No, he's so funny. Kids are they're the best.
But bro, how amazing is it though? Just being home and witnessing these little these little moments, right? And
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, I could have missed this.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're priceless, bro.
They are. They are.
Man,
Yeah.
uh,
And the the thing that you touched on just before, like on a revisit it, especially for women, like I think people don't realize this. If your father, a new father, like your wife's just given birth or your partner has just given birth, the things to listen out for is when people start to talk about breastfeeding, it's really sensitive for all women, you know. It's like
mm,
most women get stressed out and then it makes it harder for them to breastfeed, you know.
mm,
Very few women, it's just like, oh, they give birth to their first child and the child latches on and it's okay, you know.
mm.
It's very few. So it's like that's a really sensitive topic, and part of fatherhood is being able to help your wife through that process and reminding her that it's a normal thing, that
Yeah,
what she's going
yeah.
through is not odd, you know, that
Mm.
like it's just going to take a bit of squeezing sometimes, you know, and massaging the breast and hey, hey,
Amazing to have those conversations, eh?
hey,
I know what you mean, bro.
the guys
But
are
that's the
listening.
thing.
People listening are like,
You need to hear that,
precisely.
bro. Yes, sir. Because, but that's what we're there for, right? Like that's what partnership is all about. That's what relationships are all about. Like to support the other. And you're right, bro. Like I was actually when I sat down, like maybe after a year of us having our daughter, I look back and I was like, yo, I was I was part of this, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was part of either causing a bit of stress for my wife because I couldn't, I couldn't just do this, or I didn't understand where she was coming from with this, and then I had to kind of figure things out, or I was part of the solution of her being more comfortable and feeling like she's the best mom in the world
Yeah,
because she is.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's your baby, you
yeah,
know? And yeah, that's part of fatherhood too, and part of parenthood actually.
yeah,
Just really you're finding like I'll be your pillar
yeah.
when so yeah, man. Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
memories, man.
yeah. Like it's real. Like, you know, and to a lot of people also going through this whole thing, like young couples that ain't
Mm,
really together, like, and try and do this fighting thing and make it about themselves. I feel
mm,
like the opportunity to be a parent, you know, or even in terms of a young man who
mm,
hears a woman say, ah, you won't see your children then, or you won't see your child, you know, that type of thing, is it
mm,
doesn't stop you from being a father. That doesn't stop you from being a father, because that is
mm,
still your seed. That's still your child.
mm,
So do
mm,
whatever you can to provide whatever you can. That
mhm,
that little basket of groceries that you're gonna drop every week, do it because your child needs to eat every week. You know, those diapers, those pampers, those wipes. Like, still be the father. Like, and that's something my father said to me. Like, my relationship was on a very, like, it was in a very rocky place before my
mm,
son was born, to
mm,
a point where I didn't know if we are gonna be together. And my
mm,
father's advice for me, because he went through a similar situation with my older sister, he said, Jay, best thing you can do is just always play your role. If you're that
mm.
boy's father, do best. Do provide what you can provide. Make sure you're
Yes.
making those phone calls. Make sure you're trying to see your child as much as you can. And make sure that you're making sure that your boy or your girl is clothed and they're
Mm,
eating well and they're
mm,
healthy. He's like,
mm,
them, like, when we do that thing where we're fighting for custody and stuff, we're not actually hurting anyone else. Like, we're not hurting our partner, we're hurting the child more than anything, you know.
exactly. Yes, sir.
Parenting is about
Um,
the child. It's nothing to do with your, like, it's, if you and your partner, it's not, it's really, when we're talking about parenting, I'm saying it has to be about the child. It has to, because
mhm,
that's who you're parenting to. You're not parenting your partner,
mm,
you know, you're
mm.
parenting your kid.
Yes,
And
sir.
that day, for me is just like one of the things I wanted to touch on is, one, it's not knowing all the answers, and two, it's being okay in being that vulnerable, you know, like for me, and three, it's like do best, like always work within your means to provide a
Yeah.
better life. Always.
I like that, man. Like, man, yeah. So that's the one thing, like you did mention, like just to be able to even touch on even those parents who are single parents, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, for example, bro, like before we even had our baby, I had there's a homie, like a guy I met at one of the jobs that I had just started when I moved here. Just getting to know the dude, bro. Awesome guy, funny as heck, you know what I'm saying? And then he shared with me, like, he's like, yo, like he's a single dad, right? But you know, like they split. They never got married. I mean, they
Yeah.
lived together and
Yeah.
whatever. But bro, the things I learned from this guy, my G, because you know how it is, like you've got that whole custody thingy of, 50-50, this weekend you're at mom's, this weekend you're at dad's. But the way this guy handled himself, my G, the way he took care of his daughter, my G, you wouldn't even think he's a single dad. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if we stereotype that, like, because obviously we say, like, we always think like a child who's raised by both mom and dad obviously has a better child.
Advantage or whatever. Yeah.
But
Better. Yeah.
but in angle, I'll tell you what, I don't see it that way. That's never how I see it because anyway, I mean, I gave my parents a cake and I had both parents. You know what I'm saying? Like it depends, my G. You know what I'm saying? So this dude, as a single dad, like what you said, he realized it wasn't about what was going on with him and
Yeah.
his ex.
Mm.
It was about him being available, being a provider for his daughter.
Yeah.
And man, this girl, like when he would bring her to work, to hang out and stuff. Maybe even after work, he'll just say, hey, I'm going to pass through and, and just say hi or whatever. Or during the weekend, they'll pass by our house or whatever. Like, bro, this girl adores her dad. And it's because this guy decided, and it was his decision. He chose to be a real man, bro, right? It's a decision to be a real man, to say, yo, I'm going to step up. And he stepped up, bro. So for me, I learned a lot from him. And most of his traits, I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, how crazy is that, bro? So for me, yeah, as you said, it's just the way the decisions that you make. Like, I decided from the get-go, I want to be the best dad that I can be. But I know that it's going to be a challenge, and there's challenges each and every day, bro, that come through. But I managed to kind of handle my own as a dad.
Yeah.
But also, it's good to then discuss. That's a nice thing about having a partner, because then I get to discuss this with her and say, yo, um, when our daughter did this, maybe we should have not, bro, these are discussions we have, right? We shouldn't have not just, you know, sent her to a room and said time out. Maybe we should have gave her like a warning first so that she understands that, hey, I'm pushing it here. And then she does it again, than to just, hey, well, because then we've got to explain to her
Yeah.
why we did that, because they need to know. Like, so it's all these things we're trying to figure out and stuff like that. And then it also builds a trust within our daughter.
Yeah.
Like, she realizes that, yo, my parents, they love me, man. Like, and she can actually ask or speak to us freely. But also it builds like a net camaraderie, like a net what can I say, partnership with my wife. And because our daughter right now, bro, she, my goodness, man, she can read. So when I was at work and wifey was at home, when I came back from work, wife would be like, yo, this one. And then she would come to me, because then she's like, I spent the whole day with mom. So mom was like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. But dad is home now. So let me try out. Maybe this one is too tired, isn't, to say no. Hey, now I'm realizing the role now is me staying home. I'm like, when mom walks into the door, she's like, yeah, this dude was tuning this. Man, gonna try what? The
Yeah.
Quan. Because the Quan misses me, because she was away.
So
You see what I'm saying? So, but it's kids, they see those things. But for us, we're like, as long as we're on the same page,
hey,
she has to know that a no from mom is a definite no from the bali. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's been a journey, but it's insanely rewarding. Like it's been great, man. It's been
Yeah.
great.
I mean,
Yeah.
like we've also just learned that now. Like, but it's also taken a lot of arguments, like to get to the point where we've learned how to to gauge. So like he'll ask me something and I'll say no, or he'll ask his mom something, she'll say no, and then he'll come and ask me, and then I'll say, "What did mommy say?"
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yes.
it gives him an opportunity to tell me, and then usually because he's small, so usually he'll say and then go off and go and ask his mother again, and then she'll say, "So what did your father say?" And then he's like, this is long. So it's just like, I guess it's a no. But we've learned, and like sometimes if she says yes or she's unsure, she'll come to the room, or I'll go to the room and I'll say, he's asking, is it okay? And then she'll be like,
Mm.
no, no, if you think it's okay, you know. But we've learned to check on each other to make sure
Yes.
that we're on the same page. And you're so right. That's something
Right.
about parenting that I think people miss, is about being on the same page, even if you're
Mm.
not in the same home, like as single parents and stuff. You must communicate about your child. You have to be on the same page. If the child only has an hour of TV time at one house, don't give them 2 hours at the other house just to be spiteful.
Right.
Like keep the
Right.
routine. Like make the child understand that this is what we're doing and we're doing it
Mm.
for your benefit. You know,
Mm.
it's like don't mess it up just to be spiteful towards the other person.
That's yeah. And you see, and look, and again, I don't want to talk as if because I'm not in that situation of being single. But common sense here in my head is just saying like, what happens is it depends too, because you know when you split up, normally when people say they're not together, it's always tied to toxic. It's just been toxic, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes people do split up because it just didn't work, but there's that respect, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the issue here that's hard when you're parenting from a separate is exactly that, where it's not about us. You said it, right? It's not about us.
Mm.
And I'm saying this even including being parents who are
Parents
still together.
together. Yeah.
So what happens is I'm trying to show because me and you had an argument about something, and I wasn't happy with that response. So now I'm gonna rebel. When the kid comes to me and says this, I'm gonna say, yeah, you do it.
It's like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No,
Fix your
but
mom.
I'm speaking
Fix
facts
her.
because I've done it.
I've done it. No, we're guilty. Listen, G, I don't even want to act like I'm holier than thou. I mean, there was
I've
even
done
a
it
point in
before.
time where I remember I said no to something, and then he went to his mother and she said yes. I think it was like TV or something. And
Mm.
I said no because he was being, and after she said yes, I was like, oh, okay. It must have been like 2 days of just whenever he asked me, it was like, oh, okay. It's like, dad, and I know she's doing bedtime. Daddy, please can I have a sweet? Eat sugar. Let me make sure you have ginger. Tonight she's going to die in your room. You will see, I'll fix you. And now I'm just like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have. But
You know what I'm saying?
we're guilty of it. We're people. We're human. We forget.
Mm.
Sometimes we forget.
And we laugh about it now, but at that moment, who? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing that I'm like, you've got to realize it's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
Kana manga mina my issues,
Mm,
iwewe and wifey.
mm,
Do not use your child as leverage.
no.
You know what I'm saying? Like separate mwana shamari between. We have to parent our child together.
Yeah.
Kana touching if we've got issues here, mwana goes to bed, and then we're gonna sit down and then let's iron it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, than
Yeah.
using a child, because then that's what happens. What then happens is now the child is going, okay, I'm enjoying this, but I'm being told no, and then now it's like good parent, bad parent. Man, nah. So it's things that, again, it's things that we've come from, things
Yeah.
that we've grown from,
Yeah.
and it's working for us, right? Like that's what I'm saying. It's working for us, and I don't know how other people parent their kids, and
Yeah.
it's really quite funny, but be a good parent.
Yeah.
Do the best that you can for your child, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and that's also something, that's the reason why I think even it seems like we've kept it really vague in what we're saying, but like a lot of it is, as we're saying, is about the child, you know. It's really, I think it's really hard to be a bad parent when you're parenting. Like when you're focused on the child, it's hard to do wrong. It's so much easier to do wrong when you're focused on everything else but the child. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong. You know, I I for one know for a fact that we still have our moments and stuff, but I love being a dad so much that I could be tired, bro. I could have had an hour's sleep, and my son says he wants to play with me, and I'm like, it's okay. I will go down. I will use every ounce of energy in my body to play whatever game you want to play. And when I'm burst and I can't move, it's okay, because you remember that, you know, kids have a funny way of recording these things, eh? They remember these things. And even you being spiteful and vengeful towards your partner. I've got cousins now who, when you see how they relate to their parents, they think their parents are good for nothing, because their parents spent most of their children's lives focused on being spiteful towards each other and not parenting their kids. You understand what I mean? And they resent their parents. And it's not like they pick one parent over the other. They just look at both of them like, you guys did nothing for us.
Madness.
You see what I mean? But like they might not even have the words or the capacity to see it for what it is, or say it, like verbalize it. But I can see it. Like I'm looking at them and I'm like, it's clear. Like you don't, and that's why you don't call your parents on their birthdays. That's why you don't speak to them. That's why you don't visit them when you're in town. It's because they weren't really your parents. They're just people that birthed you. It's like, thanks for life, but I don't need you. And that's the thing that you have to remember, is it's like, it is not about you, it is about the child. Focus on the child. Like that's probably the best advice I can give you. And as you said, a ton of people will give you advice on like technical things. Oh, when the baby's this and when the baby's that, and they are human beings. They're little people. They have their own personas and personalities and their own. There's standard things, and people can tell you like, oh, try and pat them on the back and this, and you know, when you want to burp them, there's different styles, you know, like put them on your knees. But there's so many different things that you can try. People can suggest and you can try, but there is no correct way, because all you're doing is trying until you find. It's like the process of what do they say? The process of the word was there and it's gone. Chirungu chino netsasha.
Which process?
The process of, it's not even deduction, but anyway, it's like of elimination.
Right.
This doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. This works. Cool. I'll stick on that until it stops working. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. This worked. Okay. I'll stick with this until it stops working. And guess what? It stops working. Kids will prove to you that they're people, like on purpose. They would, like my son today can eat a whole bowl of mac and cheese. Tomorrow, he hates mac and cheese. I hate it. But I made it yesterday. I hate it. I do not want it. It's parenting, bro. What worked today isn't going to work tomorrow. They're people.
That is 100%. And if you actually look deeper, and this is where my wife and I kind of sit back after, you know, the little rascal goes to sleep. We're like, today was a hard day, huh? She's like, a lot of your characteristics were joining out of that item. You know what I'm saying? Those are other things that you kind of realize, where you're like, yeah, that's your mom right there. Or yeah, that's the Bali. And it's funny because I get frustrated with certain things, but then when I sit down, I'm like, wife is like, your mom told me that you used to do that, Shaman. It's like, I don't even. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, woo.
Bro, funny story when you say that. My son was kissing his teeth. Like, there was a point where you'd say something, and if he didn't like it, I was like, I was like, what? What did you do? Kioni, you don't do that. It's very bad. It's very naughty. And then Now one day, I don't know what he done. He done something wrong. And then I was like, I was like, that's where he got it from. It's like, oh,
Exactly.
oh. And
And
then wifey just looked at me and she was like, And
there
then
you go.
I was like,
There you go.
sorry.
And I've been taught a lot by my daughter to watch what I say.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like this child, bro, like this child could be watching Paw Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about your kid. I think our kid is kind of weird. She doesn't blink, my guy. Do kids do that? Like she doesn't blink when she's watching TV. She starts changing. It's okay. It's normal. Bro, even today, like wifey was marking, marking books and whatever, right? So me, I decided to chill with the baby, right? So I'm chilling with her and I'm looking and I'm like, there's no scene that's making people cry here. Why is he changing? She wasn't blinking past. Like Papa was like 24 minutes, is it? She was just watching from the get-go. Angagadesh. Like carpenter. So I was like, Madam, is it our daughter Chete? Or so now that you said, like, okay, it's normal.
It's normal. Because she's how old? She's about 2.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
Yeah,
just
no. Like some kids, it's the idea of missing. If I might miss something. And it's also
so
when they
literally that you if you blink.
like it's like the fear of even the sleeping thing. You'll see as she
Mm,
gets a little bit bigger, she'll start to sleep less and she'll start waking up a lot earlier and going to bed later because she doesn't
mm.
want to miss.
I
So
mean, even now, bro, like when we say good night, yee, she's got a strategy now, huh? When we say good night, is it? So me and mommy, we go in, we read the Bible, we sing, we pray, isn't? Now with prayers, she adds extra items, extra prayers, so that it's what it prolongs the nguva, isn't the time. Then we cut her off, isn't? We're like, hey, I know we love to pray, but this is too much now. Yeah? Let's chill. Then we put her in the crib. So normally I jump out because I know if we're both in there, when she puts it down, it's just not gonna work. So I jump out, but I stand by the door and you start hearing her, Mommy, I need a like what are these? A wet wipe. My mommy's like, wet wipe for what? She's like, oh my eyes or my nose. Because sometimes when she's got a cold, isn't
yeah,
we wipe her or whatever. Bruh, she's finding. And I'm like, ha! We didn't even teach her this, Shamar. It's just automatic like this.
yeah,
Like delay tactics.
yeah. Delayed. My son is the king, and the way he catches his mother. With me, he knows. Bedtime with dad, it's like
Yeah,
drilled. It's like 2 books, prayer, down. We're sleeping. That's bedtime with
right,
dad.
right.
Bedtime with mom, 2 books, sleeping, and then, mommy, I want a snack. I'm hungry. She gets so vexed. The boy times it after she's done everything. He's like, I'm hungry. I want food. I'm like,
And then,
oh.
and then obviously you're like, I don't want my child to sleep hungry, is it?
She sends it. Go and ask your father.
You know the Bali's like, Shamar, I've been through this. Huh? I know you.
So even I gauge when he comes to me, and then I'll say to him, okay, I'm gonna make this, but then I'm doing bedtime after that. So after I make it, I'm gonna come do bedtime. And he says, it's okay. I just want a yogurt. I'll go back. I'll go back to mommy. And then he doesn't come out. It's like, because bedtime, yam dada. There's no games. So I'll stick with
These
mommy.
youngins, these youngins, bro, they smart, bro. But I feel like I feel very privileged for sure to be able to to just be a part of her growing up and just trying to shape this bit of her life because at the end of the day, my guy, there's going to be a time where we've got to let go,
Yeah.
you know, and it's important to actually know that because hey, I've been in a situation where our old school parents like you're still their kid, and stuff like that. But my dad was like for real. He's like, yo, you're living in our cabin. You're chowing my chow. I'm taking you to school. I'm buying your clothes. But the moment you're able to work, my guy, deuces, love daddy. You know what I'm saying?
It's
But
like,
it's legit.
how old are you now? Daddy, I'm 14. You It's like, gee, you want me out that badly? You're taking too much time. Funny.
You know, but hey, here's another thing. Sorry, like I thought
Yeah,
you could share with me, or I could, like, parenting. We're talking about parenting, right? But
yeah,
now, if you're parenting from different backgrounds,
yeah.
because obviously for me, we're from completely different. Right, right.
That's what
You
you're
know,
going to ask.
with the laws and rules, you don't discuss these things even with your neighbors because they will report you. Yeah. Or you word it right. You can't,
You
you
can't
know.
say spanky, spanky.
Uh,
There's no
no, you can't
beating.
say beating. Yes, otherwise they'll call child something, and they will take your child.
Child services. They are
So
servicing their children in that house.
yes, yeah. So that's
Okay.
another thing where I've been blessed that, like, I think these are the other traits that I that attracted me to my wife, right? Like, because she's not, because of her race, you'd think, oh, it's a different kind of age, and but it wasn't even like that, bro. Like, you can only say, oh, she's white because she is. But when it comes to other things, yeah, you'll be like, did this chick grow up like in Africa somewhere, in a household back in Africa? So, you know what I mean? And those are the other things. Like, for me, and that's why it works for us. And I'm not saying it's perfect. Like, as
No.
you said, we struggle. But when it comes to the things that matter for me, like in my head, I'm like, we've been on point together. We've been agreeing on certain things and whatever. And disciplining our child, bro. Like, we talk about it, like, yeah, she's two.
Yeah.
She's still learning. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, there's certain things where, like, if warnings are not happening, Shakuti, hey, stop doing that. Or timeouts. Because for me, timeouts, my parents used to send me for timeouts. Trust me, timeouts become me enjoying my time in the room, boy. Like, that's, send me to timeout, boy. I'll find something to do in that room. You know what I'm saying? But then it changes from that to a little spanky spanky, and stuff like that. And I was like, I would love not to spank my child or my children. But in reality, let's be honest, Yamari, will that ever happen,
The truth is, I'd like to say that it usually shouldn't happen. Like, it
Mm,
shouldn't, in the terms of, if you're parenting well and you develop the right relationship with your child, each will always
exactly.
be enough. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There'll be always a respect and an understanding, where
Mm.
you'll be able to give them a timeout, and they'll go and think, even at an older age, go and think about what they've done and come back and report back to you. But it has to be a
But
conversation.
that works with communication, even with your child.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, like, right now, our daughter, you would know because now yours is 3. Saka, now she's at 2. She's getting to 3. Saka, I don't know, try. You know what I'm saying? She's at that trial where
Yeah.
she's just, you tell her something, she looks at you, she goes, I don't know where she gets it from. She mumbles things. You're like, Thea, what did mommy say? Don't do that. And then she's like, so now, as dad, mom's looks at me and goes, so you're the Bali. There needs to be that Bali voice. So now I'm talking to her, and then when she starts doing these mumbles, mom's on the other side is just cracking up, is it? Because now she's like, yeah, it's on you now. Huh? So I'm like, Sha, you're putting me on a spot because I'm trying not to laugh, but I have to be serious. Because if we laugh, she's gonna think, oh,
It's a game.
it's a game. And and if you entertain those things, it
Ooh.
gets to a point where it gets so annoying that you don't want to send her on a time out of you being annoyed.
Mm.
Those are the things that I've tried to balance. Like, don't be annoyed and send her for punishment just because you're angry, or
Mm.
uh-uh. It has to be a genuine, yo, we spoke about this, you didn't listen, so Ande go time out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for her, I think sometimes she enjoys time out because sometimes she's quiet, bruh. She never is, but when we forget to take out the toys from her room, it's Christmas, yeah, man. She'll be in there for a while. For a while, boss. But
Yeah.
you see, those are the things I'm like, for me, like always, it's always been like, I want our disciplining of our children to be healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It has
Yeah.
to be healthy.
I mean the key as well in like beating, like the corporal punishment they call it,
Mm.
is always coming from a place of, as you said, when you're punishing your child or thing, even if it's sending them to the corner or whatever it is, you have to do it from a place of calm. You can't do it from a place of aggression and anger,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
then it does turn into the same thing we're talking about, where it's like
Yeah.
it's toxic. It's not going to help your
And
relationship.
you know it too. You feel it when you after you've done it too as a parent. You're like, ish, that was not fair because I just felt I should have handled it better. And look, you learn as you go,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be something that's always happening because then you've got to check yourself as a parent. It's not the child
As a
because
person,
remember, you're not the child.
but as a person, you have to check yourself. If you're constantly functioning or retaliating because of anger or whatever it is, then there's an issue there. Like you've got a temperamental issue. Um, I've been in that place. I mean, I used to snap a lot of the time, and I look back at it and I'm like, bro, what was up? And it's just there are so many things going wrong in my life. So it's just like
Mm.
in
Mm.
understanding that now, when I look back, I'm like, I'm not perfect. You're right, but if you're doing it daily, then you need to go and see somebody about it.
That is
Um,
true.
I don't think that I'm not saying that you shouldn't hit your kid. Like some kids, I I've got nephews that I know for a fact if I never took the wooden spoon out,
Mm.
like we would be in issues because it would have gone straight to like belt. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like you would miss to then cow whip if I never took the wooden spoon out. And sometimes it's being able to nip it in the bud and them knowing like, hey, I've actually had to wrestle one of my nephews, and he wasn't a small guy. This guy was
Mm.
like, now he's nearly 2 meters tall, but he was at the time like 1 meter 7, right? So he was already taller than me,
Mm.
and he weighed in at about, I think, about 80 something kilos, nearly 90. And I remember he was showing off because there was a bunch of young girls, and he's like, Uncle Jay. And he's not, he must have been about 19 at the time or something.
Wow.
And he kind of like pushed me from behind, from the back of my head. I turned around and I looked at him and I was like, you do realize I'm your uncle? Because I thought maybe he's forgetting. Because,
Mm.
hey, I'm
Mm.
still young. Hey, it's cool. He's trying to be cool. Leave the boy. Let him. He's like,
Right.
whatever, man. Bro. Now look,
Mm.
if I had the opportunity to have raised him, I would have belted him way before that. Like I would have used my belt and it wouldn't have got to that point. I had to physically put this boy on the ground, pin him down with his arm behind his back, twisting his arm to the point where I'm like, I could push it an extra 5 centimeters and help you hear that crack.
Mm.
Just so you understand that there's a difference between a boy and a man. With his head in the
Mm.
ground in front of girls, and his parents were there, and I said, "You're lucky. You're very lucky because when I'm done with you, I should see to your father and your grandfather for not teaching you manners."
Mm.
So I think the case is you have to gauge your child, and you know your child.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I don't think that it's something that you should completely be like, oh, I'll never do that. Oh no. It's like, for me, it's dumb. Like
Mm.
some kids, they need a little bit extra more than others. Some kids do need to be whipped. And I don't mean it as in you take out the thing and start. No, I mean, no, no, no. No, I mean, it's like, yeah, some kids do need spanky spanky, as Trevor Noah says it. But some kids don't.
Mm.
My older cousin Renee didn't need it. I mean, the last time I got walloped, I was in grade 3. My sisters, I'm not gonna mention their
Grade
names.
three,
Huh?
yeah. Grade 3.
Yeah, that's the last time my father whacked me.
Okay, I'm not gonna share because I thought, anyway. Yeah, the last time Jamar, I was there. I was in high
Forget
school.
Prince Edward, because during the
High
school,
school.
I got it. Like, don't get it twisted. It wasn't the last time I got a hiding. No, it was the last time my father beat me. And my mother, the last time my mother beat me, I must have been in grade three as well again, I think, or grade two. And my
Mm,
mom had never hit me before, but I'd left my shoes, and she was like, oh, shouting at me, shouting at me. We got in the car, we were driving back, and I was just ignoring because I know my mom does nothing. And I was looking
mm,
out the window, just like, I'll go and look for them when we get there. That's how I felt. And she was talking to me, and she could tell I wasn't listening. And wah, backhand, bro. I listened to my mother from there onwards. Whenever she
mm.
spoke, I made sure I was attentive.
My mom was a chill. Like my mom was chill. She was more of a salsa thrower. You know those salsa throwers from across the table. And then she's like, "What did she?" And then she just monas that item. Wow! Pa! Ukarowa bafoyeda, but then you know, okay. my, when my mom decided to chaya, you'd know, could you? And I knew that I'd pushed it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, my mom would never. She would warn you.
yeah,
My dad was the looker.
yeah.
And I would rather have the look than the spank. Because when the spank came from the belly,
Bro,
yeah,
bro,
even the
my father.
homies would tell you, they'll tell you, we heard you screaming like, we heard you from our cabins. Are you all right?
Yeah, bro. No. I think, and that's the thing is, even like with myself, my son knows the look, and I've adopted it. I think it's a good thing to have in your artillery as a parent.
Yeah, because you know what? I think then they realize, oh boy, I think I've pushed it. And I've seen like even with my daughter, like we've got this look now where even when you go around with two people's places and stuff, and kids should be kids. She
Yeah,
can play around and run around and whatever. But there's when you're jumping on people's couches
Anyanya
or
manje.
yeah, always. Me and wifey, we said, hey, we need to practice. Look at each other and practice that look, you know what? You know what I'm saying? You know? And it helps, you know why? Because you don't want people to think that when you then vocally say something, especially in the demographic of stuff, as I said, we're in a place where Shamari, if you sometimes say even the wrong thing, and again, it might not even be wrong at all, but how people take it out.
Yeah,
These guys, I think, Mwana. You know what I'm saying? Because the way they just said this. So we decided, but the look is the best. So we've been practicing, bro. Like we go somewhere, if we give her the look, it's for the most part it has worked very well. You can see her calming down.
yeah,
Or we've just said, hey, what we could do is we can. Some parents wouldn't do it, but we still think it's great because we don't want her to think that we're chopping and changing what we've discussed or
yeah,
what we are teaching her.
yeah.
At people's houses, we're like, hey, what we'll do, we don't spanky, no. We give the look. If the look doesn't work, I'll be like, Thea, what did mommy say? Even though in my heart, I'm like, you were. And then I'm like, I grab her. And then I'm like, excuse me, I'm just going to is there a spare bedroom there? And I'm just going to, and then I go in there. Then I just speak in Shona, because I teach a Shona. So they don't understand what I'm saying there. But I mean, in my own language, I'm like, "Mwana iwe, ukada kundi, usandi yedzeneka." And then she's like, daddy, like there's things that work and she understands. And then all of a sudden you come back out and she knows. You can tell, like, okay, she understands. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's ways to actually really
Yeah,
set the tone from the get go,
yeah,
you know? And
yeah.
our daughter knows, like, my parents are crazy and we have fun, like, galore. But
Mm.
I think she also understands. She's two. She's very smart, by the way.
Oh
I
yeah,
think she also understands and goes, oh, when dad is like this. I mean, it's funny because when mom is like sick
yeah.
or mom is not feeling good and there's tears in the room or even daddy is shedding tears, she's quick to go and grab Kleenex. Can you imagine? And she goes, daddy, don't cry. It's going to be okay. Or mommy, here's some Kleenex. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's seeing these things and understanding what these emotions mean and whatever, you know. So
Yeah,
we're like, okay, we're in a good place where she can be taught, you know,
yeah.
with love, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it always has to come from a place of love. I think that's the key to all of this, Like when you talk about discipline, it has to always come from a place of love. You know, my mom and them said it. My dad also seen a lot of traits in me that he had as a parent, and he pulled me aside and he was like, sometimes you're a bit strong, you know. And I said, like, I don't see anything wrong in the way you were parenting. I was like, because you see something wrong in it now, because you're watching it back. I understand that you
Yeah,
that there was an alternative, but at the same time, I feel like in knowing my child, I know what is needed at this point as well.
right.
So I
Yeah,
take into consideration and I will watch myself, but I can't change certain things because my son needs to know that this is the
yeah,
line that I
yeah.
toe, and he can't cross that line. And even with his mom, like his mother plays games with him when they're doing dress up. It's like, oh, and she used to try and pull me into these games. You know, when he does something naughty, oh, Keone, don't do that. Ha, 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 ha. I said, don't do that. I said, don't. When you call me in, this is it. I am the last. He must know that, yeah, Shichapira.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
yeah, this is it. We have
right.
reached the end point. Because I said when he's older, the end point is jail, it's police, it's death, it's gangs. It's bigger than daddy being upset with you. I'd rather
Mm,
the fear of disappointing me when he's older keep him in check when he's on his own than
mm,
have absolutely nothing to ride off and him go out there and make a bunch of mistakes because he
mm,
doesn't think about what he's doing. I was like,
right.
I need to give him that space to think. Like,
Mm,
oh, is this what dad would want me to do? Like I want to be that voice where it's like, okay, maybe this isn't for me.
mm. There
But
you go.
and you can only create those pockets of thinking space by them understanding that, okay, there is a harsh world out there that isn't as forgiving as you think. Because I'm his father, I am forgiving, but he still needs to feel as if I toe this line, I still have to put up with, like, I have to put up with that entity.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's
Yes,
not
sir.
necessarily the dad that is playing with you and we're doing hide and seek and what, but that is still an entity that is part of my life that makes me think about what I'm about to do. You know,
Mm,
a thing that I always try and speak to my partner about is I hit my son's hand once for slapping me when he was
mm,
2. He was
mm,
just turned 2, and he retaliated and swung out at me. So I grabbed his hand and I hit his hand, and he's never hit me again.
mm,
But he'll swing at his mom and kick and stuff. But with me, when I walk in the room, everything stops. And I
mm,
said, I want him to be that way because he's going to get up to a point where he's going to be bigger than me. He's going to be stronger than me. And I don't want to have to fight him. I don't want to have to do that. I'd rather him respect me and I respect him. And he knows that. But at this point, these are the crucial years where you have to kind of put everything in check. Like,
mm,
that we took good cop, bad cop, all of that. Yeah, but it's just also knowing what line you can toe with mom, what line you can toe with dad. Because even
mm,
there's some things like with sweets, I give him. I'm a sucker. My dad's is the same. Like where he'll come and be like, oh daddy, I want cake. I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. Let's go to the cafe. Don't worry. Mommy doesn't have to know. Then he comes back and he's like, we had chocolate and cake. I'm like, oh, but that's dad, you know?
yeah,
And mom
yeah.
he'll never ask his mom for sweets. Because why? Mom always says no.
Mm,
But it's good. It's good to have that dynamic where it's like, okay, so I get it. Like I do get it, in thinking out loud, I was like, discipline is a hard one, but at the same time, the lack of discipline is worse, if you ask me, in a child's life. When you constantly afraid of, oh, I don't want to do it because how people will judge us, and this can go this way. As long as you're coming from a place of love, you're not beating your child to a pulp where they're battered and bruised and stuff. Then I
mm,
don't see anything wrong in it. It's like, as I said, I've hit my son on the hand, I think twice, in fact, in his life. One, he was playing with the cables behind the TV. And for me, it's like, dude, me slapping his hand and the outcome of one of those cables, like an electric shock,
Mm.
It's like, which one's worse? Oh, you hit him. Okay, and if I didn't hit him, the Zesa would have hit him. Which one do you think is worse? Which one's more forgiving? I can control this one. Can you control the Zesa?
No, right, right. You know, yeah, and that's what it is, right? Like this balance of, because I feel like what were we talking? Like we talked about modern day manhood,
Yeah, yeah.
but there's this modern day parenting too that's there, and bro, that
Janya.
is dangerous, bro. Like I mean, I've dealt with young guys, young kids, teenagers, or whatever, who, bro, unfortunately, parents have treated them like their friends because this is what the world is all about, right?
Yeah,
And I see this more out here,
yeah.
bro, like where it guts me up because I just feel like I just want to grab this boy and just put him on the Madura and say, yo, you do not talk to your mom
Yeah.
or your dad like this. But unfortunately, mom and dad decided, hey, like let me
Just be
just
friends.
let them do, yeah, let them just do whatever and stuff. But now they're struggling with trying to control or to parent now at the
And
age where they won't listen, right? So
it's
it's rough.
impossible. It's impossible. And then what happens is, okay, so I know I coached. Like I was coaching athletics, and I was in
Mm,
charge of about 150 boys.
mm,
Um, Being head coach of an athletics team of 150 boys that come from different backgrounds
mm,
and constantly managing those egos. And then in this day and age, where you're
mm,
seeing that thing where you're like, bro, like I'm your coach. I'm not your brother. I'm your coach. I'm not your friend like that right now. Like don't come at me like that. I had boys drinking literally in the school premises, right? And thinking it's cool. Seniors,
mm.
while I'm trying to coach, playing music. And the other head coaches are like, there's nothing we can do there. Bro, I picked up a crowbar and walked up to the car and I was like, okay, so since we're all men, let's see who's a bigger man. But it's like, can you imagine if they had respect for adults, right? And respect for themselves, and respect for their school, and respect for the kids that are coming up after them. If they had respect for life, do you think they would carry themselves that way?
No.
You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
parenting is about teaching your kids that value and that respect. And that's the thing is, if they have self-respect, they won't they won't disrespect you.
Mm.
But
100%.
when you're friends from the jump and that's all you are, it's like where's the line? Like what is it? There's no barriers, there's no boundaries. So when they go
Mm.
into society, they're making stupid calls on life because guess what? Well, I was allowed to do anything at home, so I should be allowed to do anything outside home.
Well, reality
The world
check.
doesn't work like that. So even that's what
Exactly.
I'm saying. Is they how can they come and tell me as a parent, right? Like these child services and things like, oh, there's a way of doing things. You have to blah blah blah. It's like, wait, you're not so forgiving when my child is in these correctional facilities. You're not so forgiving when my child has gone into a thing and shoplifted. You put them straight in that thing. When my child's been put on in the school when they've been lit up to say, this child is a nuisance or whatever, you're not forgiving. You throw them into that system, especially because they have this skin tone. You throw them into that system, and they constantly now on the highway to becoming criminals. You're not so forgiving. So why, as a parent, should I be forgiving when I can make sure that I teach them that that's the way of the world? So when they get out there, they think about those things. They don't actually go into the world and make those mistakes. You know?
So with all this that we're saying, because I'm sure time is of the essence here, we almost
Yeah,
with all that we're saying, does it mean parenting is easy? Parenting is tough? Parenting is complicated? Or like what does that mean? Because I'll tell you, I'll conclude something right now.
yeah,
For me, parenting is for me, it has been an everyday journey.
yeah.
It never ends.
Mm.
Why I say that is because even after we've raised our child as best as we can
Yeah.
and they leave, we always, and I'm not the type of person who's gonna be calling my child and saying, Kosha, hey, how come you haven't drove to the cab and what?
Mm.
Again, they've got to know, hey, we've got a family and it'll be nice to just pop in and say what's up, right? That's all on them. But we still worry about them.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? You still worry about them when they're out there.
Yeah.
Like, are they safe? Are they doing good? What are they? Like, as a parent, you're still gonna worry.
Yeah.
So, which means it never ends, bro.
Yeah.
It's still a job. You're still a parent.
All through,
So,
all through your life, you're a
right.
parent. All through your
Yeah.
life. Once you become one, you're one. That's it. Like there's no turning back after that. As you said, um,
Hmm.
conclusion, like for me, is parenting is what you make it. It's like life.
Hmm.
If you say that life is hard, it'll be hard. you know it's not to say it won't be challenging and trying at times, but if you
Yes,
keep
sir.
on saying, if you're stuck on how hard something is, then it will be that way. So
Yeah.
for me, it's a joy, it's fun. Like the first thing you said when I asked you about it was, you talked about how it made you feel. Like
Hmm.
it brought joy, so much joy. Like even watching you, talk about it, you're in such a good place when you're
Hmm.
talking about parenting, because you've chosen. You've,
Yes, sir.
you understand? You've
Yeah.
chosen to be in that place, and that for me is, I think, the biggest key. Like conclusion is, like, pick which angle you're coming from and what you want it to be to you.
Hey, and quick one too. I've almost forgot. With this whole situation with COVID.
Yeah,
So again, with I think we're blessed, bro, because it seems like us and our spouses, we talk and we make things work, right?
yeah,
Can you imagine those, like what I was saying, situations where it's like, wife, you stay home, you take care of the kids. I do work. I come home, I say what's up to the kids. Maybe I spend a little bit of time. Now you're in lockdown.
yeah,
I can imagine how tough that could be for parents who are in the same home,
mm,
kids, and dad or mom, because it could be vice versa. Mom might not want to be at home, vice versa. It's possible.
mm,
One of those parents is just going, oh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, getting annoyed with each other because you're like, no, I spend time with these kids. You can't be sick. You get the troubles that can
yeah,
come with it too.
yeah,
And I think it's important, even if I'm not at home, we are still, even if you're at work,
yeah,
you're still a parent. We still need to. So I think it is important to just give that. I respect you as whoever is parenting at home, and your job is as important, or even more
yeah,
actually, right?
yeah,
Yes, I'm making the dollar, but taking care of a life,
yeah,
and almost like not training them, but like teaching them to be the best version of themselves when they grow up or whatever.
yeah.
That's key. So I can just imagine, bro, like people who don't have that
Mm,
through this lockdown and how that looks like.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, bro.
Bullet. Cool. We could talk about parenting for forever. So
Yeah,
conclusion
yeah,
there.
100%. 100%.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you catch our next episode, and yeah, peace.
Thank you, people. Have a blessed week. We shall catch up with you.